joke.
It's a joke.
Donald Trump. Bulletproof.
Oh, who sent that? Somebody told me they were sending
Was it
that.
you?
Might be. Might be. Does it say it's from her?
I don't know. Next, you're really big neighbor.
Uh-huh.
And that's done. We bring in front of us.
Sure. Might have been. Would Sue Kane have sent this?
What?
Maybe it was Sue Kane.
Oh no, you're right. It was Sue Kane. I think you're right. I think it was Sue Kane. Hey, Becky.
Hey, I've started putting together my PowerPoint on Zoom.
Okay.
I was working on that during our faculty meeting. So I was taking snippets. So I actually have a snippet of while you're talking.
Oh my God. Oh wow. There's brown nosing, and I love it. Good for you. You know, I was thinking you must be pretty sick of Zoom by today with the and all the meetings and everything else.
I must confess I was trying to pick the communication tool that I thought would be the easiest for me to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're on it all the time. So.
But I'm having a very hard time finding articles in favor of it. And they're all on the Zoom site themselves.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's true. You know, usually you can find a review. The problem of finding an independent review. Um, uh, I remember the old days where we could rely on a few key companies. Like they're still out there. One of them is called PC Magazine, PC Mag.
I remember that one.
Yeah, and they would do objective, you know, non paid reviews. The problem with most of the review sites now, of course, is that they take all their ad. Oh my God, look at that. That picture. Okay, yeah, that's Brad. All right. Holy shit. Hi, Brad. Very
Hey,
nice.
Professor Hellman.
Love the picture, man. Love the profile picture.
You've got, although your hair isn't as long, it's definitely more filled out than his.
Yeah.
Yes, I think so too.
Well, you're just as handsome, so there you go.
Oh, thank you. I'm flattered.
Excuse me a second.
He's wiping off the camera.
Yeah, that's right. So
Yeah,
let me show you.
wait.
Excuse me a second while I take my little medicine here. Just a minute. I'm gonna.
How are you, Becky?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Good. Doing well.
There we go.
So I wasn't sure if you were blowing into that contraction or inhaling something.
I have to, it's just air. I just inhale. It's
So
to
they're just trying to keep you.
they need to
inhaling.
expand my lungs. It's particularly, it's usually problematic after dinner. We went out to dinner and got back just a little later than I anticipated. And that's usually a pretty good indication when I'm going to have some phlegm or some other cramp in my throat.
Yeah.
And it's still impossible for the most part. Hold on just a second, Becky.
Okay.
Hello, this is Paul. Hey, Shaman, how are you?
Good. Good.
Wow, we already have 50% more students than we had last time. Look at that. We're growing by leaps and bounds. I know that Jacob won't be here tonight. And there's one in our class I have yet to meet. I'm a little worried about him because he didn't take the test either. So a little quiz. So we'll see. But hopefully Jamal will show up tonight. Hopefully we'll see him. Somebody did drop. You might remember Chris, the Italian, Chris Candelera.
Mm-hmm. Scared him away with all your assignments?
I bet I did. And that's okay. I'd rather scare him away then than, get to the end and go, why didn't you drop? You probably should have, so unfortunately. Shaman, have you got any other classes than this one going on right now?
Yeah, I got management operations going on right now.
Really? You got
Yeah.
Management 366?
Mhm.
Whoa. Who you got? Who's your
Susan
Susan who? Austin?
Ostrom, I think is her name.
Okay. Not okay, not Lori Costi or something. Well, at least you.
No.
Okay, interesting. All right. Yeah, I don't know her. But in the management department, there are, I did the count one time, 65 adjuncts, visitors, faculty, and tenured track. So there's 65
That's
of
a
us.
lot.
Yeah. And they all report. By the way, we violate a key principle of management in the management department, and it's called span of control. And Becky, do you know you had your undergrad was in accounting, I assume, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you probably had to take a little bit of management.
Mhm.
Do you remember the term span of control?
No.
Okay. Shaman, have you had Management 331 yet?
Which one is that?
It used to be called Concepts of Management. Now it's called Organizational Behavior.
Yeah, I think I've had that.
Good. Well, then you can answer this question. What is span of control?
I can't do that. I don't remember.
I got to tell you what, guys, we actually teach this shit because it matters. Span of control, when you're a boss, is how many people can you effectively supervise? Okay. How many people can you be involved in assigning? Now, of course, it depends on the type of work they do. If their work is more structured and predictable, you can supervise more people. But if you're supervising, Shaman, didn't you say you're in marketing? I forgot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
These are creative people, right? Guess what? Creative people are hard to manage. and so the number goes down. But I won't press Brad to see what the number is because he stepped out of the room. But it's 6 to 10. That's what a good manager should have, between 6 and 10. Lower than that, and they have additional bandwidth. Usually we call them a working manager at that point, because that means they're actually doing work in addition to supervising others. But once they get past 10, the quality of their supervision drops. And so I'm sorry to pick on Jadeep, but 65 of us reporting to Jadeep is beyond ridiculous. I mean, it's just not even in the game, So you talk about herding cats. That's exactly what we're talking about here. Hey, folks, why didn't somebody shut me up? It's 7:07. We start on time, we end on time. Sorry about that. All right. Hey, Brad, how are you? Welcome. Okay, it's been a while. Good to see everybody. Our second session, and each of you took the quiz and probably didn't do as well as I'd hoped you would. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. That's okay. These are small points, and with a magic wand, I can make things go away or make them better or whatever. So don't freak out at all. Partly it may be there were too many questions. I've shortened up the next one. I think like 6 or 7 questions, so it's not a big deal. And yeah, so and a lot of it would have helped if you had me in management and had sat through the presentation. But anything you want to give me as feedback before Thursdays? Technically, there's a quiz due, but it's not due tonight. It's due on Sunday night, but it's for Wednesday and Thursday's material. So quick feedback. How could we make the quizzes better? Too detailed, not detailed enough, it's too rote, I have to think too much, I didn't have enough time, I freaked out, I don't like using a computer, any of the above?
I thought it was okay for the most part. The Maslow's hierarchy of need questions kind of got to me, where you had to do all the matching.
Yep.
And whatnot. But other than that, the regular multiple choice, I don't think I did too bad. At least not on the ladder portion.
Okay.
I found that sometimes I was confused on whether I was supposed to respond with just 1 check mark, or was it 2 or 3?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that partly, unfortunately, because of the short-term nature of this class, there is a visual indication as to whether it's a multiple choice question or a multiple answer question.
Oh.
A multiple choice, your selections are little radial boxes, little circles. And if you clicked A, but then you went and clicked B, it would automatically unclick A for you.
Oh.
You're only allowed to click 1. If the visual indication is a square, you can checkbox multiples.
Okay, thanks.
And that's called a multiple answer. And sometimes I'm actually nice enough, as Brad knows, to say, hey, of the following, which 4 are true? No, he's right. I'm not that nice. Of the following, which 4 are true? Well, there's a clear indication that's a multiple answer question, isn't it? Right? Because 4 of them.
Actually, I took that to mean it still could be 1.
Oh. Okay. Well, I can't help you if you don't understand words, so we'll go from there. Okay. I'll try not to insult my students any longer. Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, okay, let's go back to the visual notification. If it's a circle radial box, it's multiple choice. There's only 1 answer. That's all you can take. If it's multiple choice, excuse me. If it's multiple answer, sometimes I will tell you how many there are. Not always. Don't bet on that. But sometimes I feel benevolent, or I think the question is too hard for you to figure out on your own. Also, when there are multiple answers, people wonder, well, should I guess? And the answer is no, do not guess. Answer only those that you know are whatever answering the question. Don't pick any more than you need to, because you get partial credit if you don't. Let's say there were 3 that were right and 2 that were wrong. but you only know 2. So you pick the 2 that are right, you're going to get 2/3 of the points, period. But if you pick a third and you're guessing, you're going to get a deduction for guessing if it's wrong, right? Now, of course, you can guess right, then you go home and everything's great. But we're assuming you're guessing on the third question, and there's actually a deduction for guessing. Okay, so instead of getting 2/3 of it, you would probably get 2/3 less 10% or something like that, whatever the crazy numbers are. And we're talking about really tiny numbers here. These questions are worth 0.5 points, right? So we're not going to hopefully have a cardiac over any of these things. So anyway, going forward, the questions, the number of questions is going to go down substantially, and we shouldn't have hopefully as much trouble. So. And I did go back, and some of those are brand new questions written just for this class. So because they haven't been vetted as well. Nice glasses, dude. I like those.
Oh, thank you.
Because they haven't been vetted by hundreds of students, I've sometimes gone back and adjusted your grades just to make sure that you're not penalized for my poor wording of questions. Okay, let's get started with tonight. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I've just got to get this cleaned up a little bit, and then I can share out my screen. Hold on just a second. Thank you. All right, so I've got to move some things around. I want to share out. All right. Okay. Share screen. I am sharing screen 1. There we go. Okay. If life is working as I hope it is, you are seeing a cute little title slide called Effectively Managing and Motivating Remote Workforce Session 2, Thursday, April 23rd. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Shaman, you're going to be my tech go-to. I'm going to call on you every time I want to make sure things are working correctly, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so let's just do a quick review. We're going to cover very, very briefly items that I think were most important. I think there's 2 slides or 3 slides that I want to make sure you're aware of from Tuesday night. I want to make sure we all are aware of our final assignments. I want you to thank my wife for bringing me a cup of coffee behind me. Thank you very much, wife.
Hello, all.
Hello, all. This is Carol.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Okay.
Hi, Carol.
And
Thanks for your cell phone number.
thanks for your cell phone number. Yeah, she was so worried that I was going to pass out while I was sitting here. And then I want to make sure that you are prepared for the next quiz that you're going to have. And again, that quiz is not due until Sunday night. It's 6 questions. It should not be very difficult, but we'll see. My goal, frankly, is for you to get 100% on every one of these quizzes. That's what I'm hoping. Okay, so this was in the slide deck. I'm not going to go through it again, but it's really important that managers understand this. You know, we're starting at the far left here, where we're the sender. Let me see here how I do this again. Where's my laser pointer? Is that what it is? Whoops, I didn't want to do that. Laser pointer. Okay, that is the manager is the sender, and we create the message. Hey, go get me a cup of coffee, right? Or hey, where's the report? Or hey, you're doing a great job. How am I going to convey that? Well, I've got to encode it. Most of the time, I'm taking my thoughts and I'm turning them into English, and I'm probably going to use my words, but sometimes I use my face, and sometimes I use an email, and sometimes I put it in a wiki or a blog post, right? And you get it, and you receive it, and you interpret it, and I use a word you've never understood before, so the decoding isn't real clean, right? Exemplary, Brad. And he goes, wow, that's a big word, 4 syllables. What the hell does that mean? Is that good or bad? I don't know. He has to go look it up. That wasn't a very good message then on my part because he had to spend additional time decoding. But he says, oh, it was good. He creates a message sending back to me. Maybe he just sends me a thumbs up. Thanks, Professor Hellman, blah, blah, blah. He encodes his idea into a nonverbal. He's going to use Zoom because we're sitting on Zoom because we're visually here. And I receive it and I go, good, he got the message. Okay. That process is repeated, I don't know how many times a day. I'd love to talk to a communications professor. Thousands, millions, not millions, but a lot of them, right? Somewhere between 1,000 and a million. All right, so if we understand that, we understand where noise gets in, and we understand, you know what, those mediums are really important. We talked a lot about the medium, right? And the encoding is important. And this is where we talked about encoding, right? When we communicate, we encode using nonverbals, which is a big chunk of how we communicate to people, right? The voice and tone. When I just said big chunk, I was emphasizing it, right? It's louder. I paused. I use a rhythm, right? Big chunk. Okay, we got it. Okay, big chunk. Yes. Okay, I got it. Okay, move on. But anyway, that's the modulation process. 38% of the message I'm trying to get across to you is used in my tonality. Only 7% of what I communicate are the words I use. That's wild. So, Siobhan, you didn't have this, or Brad. Becky did, and Jacob did. This will be helpful for your final assignment. That's why I'm showing it to you again, and it's in the slide deck. I'm going to let Becky, because she's not only a visiting professor, but the only person in the three of you here that were here on Tuesday. What does this, what does this little graph mean? What does this chart tell you, Becky? What's going on here? A lot going on
So
there.
on the far left where it says information richness, and then you'll see at the bottom it says low, and at the top left it says high. So it's just kind of those communication options that are all in bold where it says face-to-face, one-on-one, and management by walking around. Those are different ways that we communicate. And so it's ranked in order of the information, how well can we get information from it. But then it's better broken down with the titles that you see at the top with words. So if it's face-to-face, then that means my method of being able to communicate with words is really high. And the tone I'm using when I'm talking, that is very high with the face-to-face communication. So nonverbal, maybe my expressions, the way I'm standing, or other stuff that doesn't have to do with me saying the words, facial expressions, that's also high in a face-to-face environment. But the ability to document is low because we're typically not recording ourselves during that face-to-face conversation. So if you want to document it, you're going to have to follow it up with something written afterwards. And then the cost is high to very high, which I thought that was kind of funny because I think it really depends on what environment are you in. If everyone's coming to the office,
Right.
the face-to-face really doesn't have that much cost to it, except for the company does have to pay for all the office space for people to be there. But if you're requiring people to fly for a meeting, then you're going to have some very high costs associated with that face-to-face meeting. The speed slow, that one I could use some help with.
Sure. If
and
I
then
have
the
to,
immediate feedback.
sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
If I have to communicate this message to a lot of people,
Oh, yes.
this would
Yeah,
be a
unless I
very,
get them-
very painfully slow process of meeting face to face with
Okay.
everybody. Right. That's where the slow comes in.
Yeah, so, okay. So like if I've got the same message that I want to give to 100 people, if I can't get them all in one room at one time, it's going to take me a lot longer to make that happen. And with face-to-face, we have immediate feedback. So because if someone doesn't understand, like in the classroom and I'm teaching, if someone doesn't understand, they can immediately say, can you repeat that? Or I didn't understand that word. So I won't go through them all.
No,
but that
no,
at least
no.
gave
You
an
did a
idea.
great job. Yeah. In fact, because Becky teaches, she has a number of things to her advantage when she's face to face. Sometimes she doesn't even have to have them say, I don't understand. You can just see the furrowed brow or the blank look in their face or the smirk on her, thing like, oh, what the hell did they say, right? All that stuff. All those are why we want you back in the classroom for the most part, right? And by the way, people don't like the fact that I do synchronous schooling like we are right now because, of course, I'm taking your Thursday night away from you. But I'm jealous. I want to be able to know, Shaman, that you're getting what I'm putting down here, right? That you understand what I'm saying, and when you nod your head, you go, yeah, you did steal my Thursday. I don't know if it's worth it, but we'll see about that, right? But yeah, that's what I'm looking for, right? Because for me, this is a big part of teaching. And so so she did a great job on number one. By the way, I've listed 13 different types of ways a manager can communicate to their staff. And there are probably more than that, though I've covered a lot of them. But we really hit a bump there where we go to like number 6. Look where we go to, because we dropped the nonverbal. Look at that middle column, and it's green. When we go from when we go here, we don't have nonverbals anymore, and that means the whole dynamics change. That doesn't mean we lose 55% of our message. We're still delivering a message, but so much more is weighted on our tonality and our words. You know, the words that we choose obviously become more important, but the tonality takes a big difference. And you know that when you talk to a loved one, right, on the phone. They may be saying the same words, but you know them well enough that, you know, something's just not right with them. I can't see it, but I can hear it. Something's wrong. That's what we're talking about when we're dealing with your staff. And then when we lose tonality, which is here, right, email. That's why email gets us into so much trouble. Because we just lost nonverbals and we lost tone. Now we have to rely strictly on our words. And we learned what emojis were for. Brad, do you know why we have emojis? Jacob did a great job of telling us why we had emojis. Why were emojis created? Do you have any idea?
It's a way to show that nonverbal expression through a text, because you can attach a little virtual face.
Exactly. No one ever thinks about that very much, right? But when I have a little smiley face or a winky face or whatever, I'm giving you, a nonverbal to go along with those words, so that I can enhance, like my number 10 there, my text or my group texting. Okay, all right. So that I just wanted to get to here, because this is what we were trying to accomplish here, and then we talked about our final assignment. And just a quick thing, I'm assuming you have already gone through and scanned the previous PowerPoint and the previous lecture. I drone out about a lot of things. The part that you want to hear the droning about specifically is on this final assignment. I went through and shared some of my expectations of what I think this final assignment is. I'm not going to repeat it right now. Right now, I will give you some further direction, probably maybe this weekend, just to be very clear about what it is I'm going to have. I can't force people to show up next Thursday, but I can sure make it painful if you don't. So it's probably a 5-page report if you don't show up, and it's a 10-minute presentation if you do. So I don't know, your choice, right? Up to you. But I can make it that way, and then I can be an SOB that way. But anyway, here's what we've got listed. Jacob is going to take, ideally, people, you show up. This is meant for us to sort of share with each other. Hey, this is what I learned about Zoom. This is the pros and cons of it, and Becky's going to tell us all those things, and when I would use it and when I wouldn't, and using that matrix that we had before. Here's where its strengths lies, and here are the concerns. And we would each learn a little bit about all 5 or 6 of the pieces of software that we've talked about in the assignment. So right now, I think Jamal is the only one that's missing right now, who hasn't picked one. And so he's going to get either WebEx, Slack, Basecamp, or Monday. So, okay. Before I go into new material, is there anything anybody wants to say? Questions, concerns, comments before we move forward?
With the final project, those 4 articles, I really didn't see a comment about whether we were supposed to incorporate, like, did you want just the highlights of those articles within the PowerPoint?
Nope.
Or it's just to get us more familiar with it?
Yep, it's just
Okay.
to get you. I need them referenced. You need to cite them.
Okay.
So I know that you actually read them, and I can go see that they aren't just some Wikipedia page. But
Okay.
but I'm assuming it's more for your research knowledge, and
Right.
you may need more than 4 to get to the answers that you're talking about. I don't know. Okay. So anything else? That's a great question. Thanks, Becky. All right. So this is actually pulled from my old Management 331. Shimon, if you had that, you probably recognize that book. That was the book you had way back in, if you took it a while ago. Brad, you must have had 331 here, right?
Yeah, it was before they changed the naming, but I had a different book.
Yep. Oh, different book. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I don't steal I make my own slides. So, I'm sort of pointing to it, but the concepts are coming out of there. If management were a table, it would be made up of 4 legs, and that's a terrible 4-legged table, but it's rather clever, I guess. I don't know, but anyway, that's not the way you would normally show as a table. The first leg of the table would be planning, right? That's a key function in management. And while we are planners as managers, and we engage our staff to do it and some other stuff, but it's not for some of us. It's not where we excel. It's not what we love to do, but it is absolutely necessary. Boy, I sat in on a big organizational wide meeting today from President Mantella, and talk about planning. She's got oodles and oodles of planning, and people underneath her planning on, all the way from how do we handle the food lines in the cafeterias to, do we or do we not meet as a conference to play football? There's tons of planning all in very short order, frankly, on this COVID thing. So yeah, do we do planning? Of course we do. We organize things. We certainly organize things. Now, sometimes, in many cases, the structure is given to us. Here's the department, Shimon, you're in charge of marketing, okay? Don't suddenly turn yourself into the engineering department. We already got one of them. By the way, that's not why we hired you. So we want you to be head of the marketing department. And by the way, we've decided that you get 4 staff. Now, if you've worked inside an organization like Becky has, and maybe some other people, to try to get that 5th staff person to change the organizational structure is like moving heaven and earth, right? It can be done, but usually, as we come into an organization or we're middle managers, we don't get huge says in how the organization is organized or how our company is organized. But we fight like hell if they're going to take, you had 4 staff and now they want to take 1 away. That's a change in organization, and you're going to fight like bejeebers to make sure that doesn't happen. Anyway, organization. Managers do organization. Managers do a lot of control. This is a ton, particularly lower level managers. When I say lower level, I'm talking about supervisors, team leaders, whatever. We watch our people. We help our people. We measure our people. We say, you're supposed to do so many an hour. How come you're not doing this many an hour, right? You're supposed to get this project done by next week. Are you going to make it in time? You got to stay within the budget. Blah, blah, blah. All of those are control functions. And managers do a lot of control. And some people love that stuff. And unfortunately, some managers take it to the extreme and they become micromanagers, right? And they control down to the level of, Brad, I want you to breathe now. Okay, I want you to breathe in. Okay, now breathe out. Okay, now breathe in. Now breathe out. Now check with me when you're breathing, okay? That's micromanagement, baby. That's down to a level that most of people don't want to. Personally, not my favorite area, but definitely required, okay? My area, the part I love, is leadership, right? And leadership is when managers provide a vision of a future state. Leaders provide a vision of a future state. Now, that future state can be pretty short. I see you working really hard all 8 hours of this shift. And at the end of this shift, I see this beautiful vision of a happy customer. And, we've sold these many hamburgers across the counter. That's my vision for today. Let's go. Or my vision is, I think we could take over the Midwest, and this is the marketing campaign, Shimon, that I want you to help me implement. Okay. Obviously, both visions, one's 8 hours long and one is 8 years long, but they're leadership components. Those are statements of leadership. And when we provide leadership, and we are doing that, we need motivation. We have to motivate our people. And so motivation is the way we get people to do things, right? It's a psychological force. I don't go over to Becky and, you know, twist her arm and make her, you know, use the 10 key and add tick and tack. Do you even tick and tack anymore? What the hell do they do anymore? You know, do you even know what I'm talking about?
No.
In CPA, when I joined BDO Seidman, the auditors would come in. We call them the tick and tack. I don't know what that meant, but
Does
usually
it have
meant
to do with using a 10 key?
yeah. You'd get these big long ledger sheets, and they forced the new kids to practice with the phone book. Did you know that?
We used to put the phone book in front of us so that when they would come by, they would think that, oh my gosh, they're so fast on the 10 key, when we were just like adding phone numbers for the heck of it.
Okay, so this isn't that outrageous. Okay, yeah. Okay, sorry. Okay, so I don't know where I was going with this, but anyway, the point is, I'm not gonna twist her arm behind her back. I'm gonna physically change her. I'm gonna psychologically force her to do what I want her to do, right? And so here's the thing that's important. We want to know their level of direction, right? We're sending them in this point. I want you to go here. I want you to give it your all, or I want you to go halfway, or this is not a big deal, or whatever. And you know, if you run into your first roadblock, that's okay. Come back and see me. Or no, I'm not going to be back for 6 months. You're going to hit all sorts of roadblocks, Becky. You're going to have to figure this out. I need you to know. I need to know that you have the persistence to overcome these obstacles in order to get there. These are all motivational issues. Okay, and so as managers, we try to marshal those things, and the better we do that, the better the manager we are. Okay, so the three things that managers need to manage within this area of motivation is direction. What are the things we want you to do? Where do I want you to point? My motivation, and if I've got the right motivator for you, it will determine how hard you work. Shimon, what job have you had that motivation was pretty low?
Back in high school, I guess it wasn't really a job. It kind of was. It was more for credit, but we used to run like the school store.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't really have much supervision and whatnot. So
Okay.
it was, yeah,
And
motivation.
so if somebody told you to come in and, hey, I want you to restock the shelves this hour, would you do it if they turned around and walked out knowing full well that there's not much, you know, penalty for not doing it? Maybe you'd move one potato chip bag over there and then you'd engage somebody else in some conversation, right? So, yeah. And yet, this, if it was important to you, you know, the effort might be pretty high. Brad, where have you shown kind of heroic efforts to overcome when it's like, wow, this guy really gave it his all in this one? Give me an example.
Do you want like a specific example?
Yeah.
Last summer during my internship at Independent Bank,
Mhm.
I was kind of put on as kind of our IT lead for one of our system upgrade projects.
Yeah.
And basically I had to reimage and configure thousands of desktop computers.
Right.
Maybe not thousands, a couple hundred.
Yeah.
Thousands would be impossible in one summer. But yeah, a lot fell on me because
Sure.
a lot of people that usually help to do that were not there. So
Okay. And what was the motivation? What was your motivation? Why was that? Why were you willing to reimage hundreds and hundreds of computers?
I knew that the business had a deadline, and I knew that people being out of the office weren't going to help us achieve that deadline. So I knew I needed to step up to kind of keep the slack per se minimal.
Okay, so let's bring it. That was a lot of reasoning, but I'm not sure that was your motivation. I mean, what was the motivation for you personally for this internship? What was it why did you put this much effort into that internship?
Recognition.
Okay, recognition.
recognition, and also, I mean, I guess referral in a sense.
Yeah, you wanted to have a great reference at the end of this thing.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And so you were trying to use this internship probably as a springboard. And if I could be recognized as a really hard worker, this would be a great reference for me in the future, right?
Absolutely.
Most of the, by the way, were you paid millions of dollars for that internship?
I wish.
Okay. So you weren't extrinsically motivated. In other words, you didn't do this because you were making, you made an extra, I don't know, $10,000 imaging hundreds of workstations.
Hmm.
Did you make any more money imaging all those extra 100 workstations?
No.
None? And yet you did it anyway?
Yeah.
Wow, amazing. I guess money isn't the only motivator in the world then, is it?
Surprisingly not.
Surprisingly not, okay. And persistence, okay? Whether the individual will keep trying, and you folks know this, you've seen people in your own lives, you know it when you've got it and when you don't have it, right? When you're not motivated, the first roadblock is your chance to go, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. I got an excuse. I don't need to use, I don't have to, I was going to go to work, but I had a hangnail today, but oh my God, I can't overcome that, right? Or whatever, right? Which is a frustration for a boss. If somebody stops when they hit their first bump in the road, I gotta believe, Becky, you've worked with a number of people where you've had to supervise. What do you do when their persistence is really low? There's no good answer, but I'm just wondering what you've done.
Yeah, it's rough. Sometimes it just depends on what's the task, what's the issue.
Mhm.
Because we usually have so many deadlines that we were up against with preparing taxes that if someone's motivation was really low, sometimes you end up taking work away from them and
Right.
giving it to the highly motivated person. And you're hoping that that person understands that it's not necessarily a great thing that I'm taking work away from you.
No, you should see this as an insult. Sometimes as managers, and where I think it's important for a manager to excel is you have to call that out. You have to be willing to say hard things in a soft way. Okay, I'm going to use that here. Shimon, you didn't do the work. Okay, I understand. You had a hangnail today and you couldn't come in, and maybe you didn't want to do the work. I'd rather you've come to me to do that, but I've given that work over to Brad. And I got to tell you, that doesn't reflect well on you. Okay. I think you're better than this, and I think you can do it again next time. Okay. Please don't let that happen again. Now, I just had a little, kind of a role play there where I was calling Shimon on the carpet. Of course, I would never do that with two other people in the room like I just described, right? But the manager who is unwilling to give that feedback doesn't do Shimon any value whatsoever, right? Because he may think, well, cool. That's cool. I don't want to do it anyway. Brad's going to do it. Groovy Tuesday. Don't have to worry about anything. Great. I'll just go on and do whatever I wanted to do anyway. And may not have gotten the message that he was supposed to going, this was an insult, dude. If you're not savvy enough to pick that up, let me point it out to you. This is not going to look well in your career. Right. And so this is where managers, this is the secret sauce, if you will, of managers. Because you know what? Properly done, if it's done with respect and with whatever, when Shimon or Brad or Becky are criticized like that, then you set the opportunity to have them excel the next time, right? And so then you can get there. Yeah, Becky, go ahead.
That reminds me of, we had a staff that around the third or fourth year, we were just like, wow, do we really hang on to this guy or not?
Right.
And so we ended up having to have those difficult conversations of, is there something that we can help you with, or where do you find you're struggling with? In the end, it's 10, 15 years later, and he's still at PwC,
Right.
except now he's moved up in the organization because he just needed that extra time to get his ducks in a row.
Sure,
and
sure.
But yeah, if we hadn't had that conversation, we eventually would have just let him go, and we would have missed out on that opportunity to have.
Okay, so you did have the conversation, and it did. Now maybe it took longer than you would have liked, but at least they have a good employee, long-term employee now, and they've been there for a while. So good to know. Okay, so in the world that we're talking about here, what we're looking for from a management point of view is we're not looking for compliance. We're looking for commitment, right? Compliance means that Brad's going to do the stuff as long as I'm standing here over his back with a whip, or I'm checking in on him all the time, and he's consuming a lot of my time to make sure that he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. If he's motivated to the level of commitment, I don't have to check in on him very often, right? He's anxious to get there. He's gonna image all those laptops. He's gonna come back and tell me, I got 50 of them done tonight because I stayed an extra hour, and we're ahead of schedule. But we're gonna have to keep it up, Paul. Wow, great, Brad. Keep it up. Nice job. Let's go. Right, all that good stuff. So that's what we're looking for. So all this motivation sounds great. All we got to do is just go do it, right? Oh yeah. No, unfortunately, that doesn't quite work that way, right? So what we have here are theories, right? Lots of theories. Now, this is the part of soft side of management because we're not in the hard sciences here, folks. We're not talking about, chemical reactions or whatever. We're talking about people, right? And people are pretty hard to predict what they're going to do. Now, they're not impossible, but it's not, this is not a mathematical equation. You can do all the right things or what you think are the right things, and you still may not get the results that you want, right? For instance, Becky's little answer there, it would have been wonderful if by calling this guy out and doing what she did, it didn't take him 15 years to get there to achieve whatever he needed to do. He could have done it in 10, right?
Oh, no, it didn't take him that long. I was just saying that that's how long he's still with us. So
I see.
it was like about a year of him having to turn
Okay.
the corner.
Okay, well,
But
good.
just to show
Yep.
that you might have a rough spot, but it doesn't
Sure.
mean the end of your career. It means you can make
Yeah.
a change.
Absolutely. Well, and by the way, you probably had other conversations with people who didn't make that change, right?
Right.
And so same formula, different outcome. Interesting. What's the difference? Becky's no different. Oh, it must have been the person that received the information, right? There's only so much you have here. So anyway, so what we have as managers are a bunch of theories of how we think things work, right? That's all they are. It's in the simplest of form. A theory is a system of ideas trying to explain something. And so a motivational theory, not too surprisingly then, is a system trying to explain why somebody does something. But theories aren't facts. Theories are what we conjecture for the most part. There are stronger theories and weaker theories. And as a result, we can't just sort of go to the bank and say we can't guarantee that the use of some of these theories that we're going to be talking about always work, because they will not always work. That's the one thing we can be sure of. So we have to have a lot of them. We actually have, as managers, and if you were taking this as a Management 331 course, we'd be covering dozens of motivational theories. And there are new ones coming up all the time. We just cover the real high watermarks. And you've already been quizzed on these, so I'm not going to go through them in excruciating detail because we already know them, right? So here's the first one, which I think is really interesting. By the way, Becky has children. Brad, Shimon, do you have any children yet?
No, just
Okay.
22.
Well, that's okay. That's good, actually. Good choice on your part. By the way, as parents, we use these all the times. As children, they've been used on you all the time, okay? Operant conditioning. By the way, I love Skinner, B.F. Skinner, and the Skinner box. What a scary looking little professor there, isn't he? He's like, ooh. He used to do some really crappy things to rats. And we're going to talk about that for a second. But operant conditioning is one of the most common motivational elements that we have. And so I'm going to go through them right now. There are basically 4 components, as you may have already read. There's positive reinforcement. This is the one my wife wanted me to use all the time, and I didn't use it enough, right? So when somebody does something good, Brad, I come over and I pat you on the head, right? And so Brad did it well, I pat him on the head. He did it well again, I pat him on the head. Pretty soon, I don't have to pat him on the head anymore because he's just going to do it, right? That's the good stuff. Negative reinforcement, that's the opposite, right? I'm going to make something uncomfortable every time you don't do something. Becky, growing up, did you have a spotless room growing up?
Oh, I must confess, it was pretty good.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
Sorry.
okay. Well,
Not-
let's
It isn't now.
okay. Let's talk about my daughters. My daughters were slobs. Okay, there's just nothing in there. Okay, and I wanted to use. What's that, Brett?
So let's hope they never hear this recording, Professor Owens.
Oh, I'd tell them to their face. Are you kidding? They were slobs. Absolutely. And I wanted to use negative reinforcement, which is nagging. They don't like me nagging. Clean your room, clean your room, clean your goddamn room, clean your room, clean your room, clean your goddamn room, right? Every day until the room is clean. And then I would stop nagging. That's negative reinforcement. When they do the behavior, when they stop doing the behavior that we don't want, the undesired outcome, we remove the negative thing that they don't like. They don't like nagging, right? But it's not the most effective of the 4 operant conditioning tools we have, but it's one that's used. This is the one my wife would rather me not use, right? All right, extinction. Extinction is rather interesting. We just take it out. I'm not going to go there, because we're not going to spend a bunch of time on operant conditioning. But punishment, clearly we know, right? Brad, if you don't clean your room, you will be grounded, right? Or Shimon, or Becky, if you don't get this report in by Friday, you will be fired. Okay, pretty damn severe, right? And we could talk about whether it's overused and how it should be used and what have you, but it is definitely a punishment. I mean, it can be an effective tool, but it has to be used very sparingly. Otherwise, if the person receiving it, if I threaten Becky every week with that, and one of those weeks she doesn't get fired and she didn't turn in the report, what do you think is going to happen the next week, Shimon, when I do threaten her again?
That'd be good.
Do you think she's going to believe me?
No.
Probably not. Probably not. I had a client in Chicago. He threatened to fire his IT director every month. And he was always mad at his IT director. He brought me in as a consultant trying to talk to him. Go, how can I get this guy to do his stuff? I go, stop threatening to fire him, or either fire him or shut up. Fire him or shut up. Because you just diminish yourself every single time you threaten to fire him and then you don't. Okay? You just took another thing out of your quiver of tools that you have available as managing him, because he just knows you're a big bag of hot air, and he just walks by you and goes, screw you, you're not going to fire me. If you had, you would have done it 7 years ago, and you haven't. Okay, so as a manager, we have to be really careful on this punishment thing. And as a parent, Becky, I got to believe, have you punished your kids? I know you have. Okay, all right. We have, it's hard enough as a parent. It's really hard as a boss. Okay, we have to not do it emotionally, which means that we've thought about it. It's been clear. It's well articulated. We're calm. It's well documented. Okay, we don't do it in front of someone else. Right? We pull them aside. We have that face-to-face, that one-to-one meeting that we talked about, right? Where I've got all the various tools available to me to make sure that they're getting it. And I talk about the behavior, not the person. And I try to put it as close to the behavior I'm trying to get rid of as I can, right? So this is why we don't punish people at their review 6 months after they screwed up. We do it the week after, right? If they violated a safety mechanism, right? They climbed on the roof and didn't have the belay lines and the other stuff they were supposed to have. We don't wait until we don't give them a week off 6 months later and say you shouldn't have done that. We do it then, right? And we do it clearly and unemotionally. And we do that because we care about you. 2, if you were to fall and die, or if a tree should fall on you and you would break 10 ribs, we would be sued. And so, yeah, we can't have that happen, right? So, all right. So I'm going to try something here. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. This is a interesting. What time is it? No, we're not. It's not coming up anyway, and it's an okay video. I'm gonna leave it out there. You guys can read it later. I'm gonna skip this because I want to get to this thing. I get too wound up. I am gonna show this one though, because this one's just funny. Then we're gonna go to break. Un momento, por favor. Who loves the Big Bang Theory? I'm okay. Who doesn't like the Big Bang Theory? Okay, all right. So let's see if it comes up. It should. Let me just give it a second.
Brad, I think you voted both ways.
I have mixed feelings about
You have
it.
mixed feelings about the Big Bang Theory? Okay, let me see here. Okay, in theory, this should be coming up. I didn't test this. I may give you a break and we'll come back and I'll make sure this works because it should be working here. Just a second. Let me go here.
Shimon, have you ever seen it before?
Yeah, I've seen it before. I never really got into it very
Okay. This is Sheldon, and he's a scientist, and he's a pain in the butt. And this is, what's her name? She's a dumb blonde. Penny? Penny is her name, right? Yeah, Penny.
Yes.
Penny.
You know what? My video isn't working. It's 7:53. Come on back at 8:05. Go ahead and put yourself on mute and come back in at 5. We'll watch the Big Bang operant conditioning theory, and then we'll go on to our next theory. Okay? I'll get this working. That way we don't waste each other's time. 8:05.
It's working now.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I didn't show this to you last semester, did I? I don't think so. This has only been in management.
No, I don't.
It has a tiny ethical component, but not much. All right, I got it working now, so that's good. Oh, was that Nicolas Cage? Is this your?
Yeah, it's Nick Cage.
You like him, huh?
I
That's a funny
Um,
picture.
I like Nick Cage not for his acting.
Okay.
Just I just think he's hysterical
Yeah.
because he drives himself to bankruptcy and then he literally will just take any movie or TV show he can find.
Is that what he does? Because I don't watch his movies because most of them are so lame.
Exactly.
They're just terrible.
He just like he accepts literally any movie offer he gets, pretty much. I think.
Isn't that curious that a star like that we know him
Yeah.
so well? Yeah.
No. And like people love him for that reason.
Yeah, I guess so.
He's so quirky and goofy.
Yeah. Hey, how's Valerie?
She's good. She's really great.
Yeah. What's she up to this summer?
She's working at Spectrum Health this summer.
Oh, wow. Doing what?
She's working, she's like, technically, I think her role is like a business analyst,
Okay.
but she's working in their incubator.
Cool.
So she's
Wow.
helping do research for Spectrum to develop new healthcare products, basically.
Interesting.
Yeah, new products or just new technology, changes to the hospital system, pretty much.
Cool. All right, I'm going to go run and hit the bathroom. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
It's kind of odd. There's a ringing this time that we didn't have the last time we met.
There's
Like some feedback.
a ringing?
Yeah.
Oh. Um,
It goes away when you mute it, but then when it comes, when you don't, when you unmute, then it's back.
that's not good. Let me try not using the headphones. Is that better or worse?
Same.
Same.
Yeah. I'm not sure because we've never had it before.
Yeah, let me go. There's so many different things I've got here. I could do, let's see, try this. What does that sound like?
That's helped.
Did that help?
That helped. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I've got a really weird system here with lots of different cameras and mics and all sorts of stuff all over the place.
Mhm.
All right, let me try that. Thanks for bringing that up. I don't
You're
like
welcome.
it. All right, let's see if our friends are coming back.
So you can put your headphones back on if you want, because I don't think that was it.
Oh, okay. It's all right. We're talking about
Or
Nicholas.
Professor Horn.
Hey, Brad.
Have you guys seen Face Off?
Face Off? No.
Yeah, it's a Nicolas Cage movie with
Oh.
John Travolta.
Okay.
That's what that photo's from.
Okay.
It's a weird movie. I do not recommend it.
Okay. He did a couple crazy ones about the not the Statue of Liberty, but the Declaration of Independence or something.
Yeah, Independence Day.
Oh God. Terrible stuff.
Or no, sorry, National Treasure. That's the name.
National Treasure. Yeah. So Becky, how are the 15 credits going this summer? Oh my God.
Really well. Yeah. I'm glad it'll be done, but then I'll immediately be switching over to prepping more with the classes for this fall.
Well,
But we've been doing some of that right now as groups.
is your family seeing you at all?
Because I'm working from home, sure.
Well, I suppose they see you walk to the bathroom, they see you walk to the kitchen, and they see you walk over there.
Yeah, it really hasn't been too bad.
Well, good.
Oh, now we've only got a week and a half left.
Okay. So I know you said you had one son that graduated. What, do you have any other children?
Yeah, so I've got the 23-year-old graduated in December in marketing.
Okay.
And then the 21-year-old, he will graduate in this coming April in computer science.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah.
Both at Grand Valley?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was kind of funny because the younger one chose Grand Valley and he just really wanted to get away from us, and we were living in northern Indiana.
Oh.
And it wasn't till after he picked Grand Valley that we announced we were moving to Allendale. And he was like, what? I'm trying to get away from you. And I was like, dude, you don't have to live with us. We just like the community. And my parents were in the Grand Rapids area and my sister. So we wanted to come to West Michigan. And we knew he wanted to move out. So we figured he doesn't need to know where we're moving.
No.
So,
I bet that was a shock, though. It sure was.
but now it's worked in his favor because he ended up moving back home with us to
There
save
you
money.
go. Yeah, well, yeah, funny how we're okay to live with when they want to save dough. Otherwise, not so much so. All right, I got the video. There was nothing wrong with it. I just didn't know where to press it. I'd forgotten this one. I thought this was it doesn't matter. It works now. Let me just tell you. I'm going to mute and hopefully let me know. I'm relying on who was my go-to today? Was it Shimon? That if you don't hear it, you need to stop me and I'll start over.
You're here a lot now.
Oh, am I talking too much? I'm sorry.
Thank you. Chocolate?
I hear it, but it's not playing.
Hi, Kim. Yeah. You know what? Hold on. Let me take this in the hall.
Yeah.
Okay, you can't hear it?
Not really, no.
All right.
So we heard volume, but it was so distorted and chopped up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll miss the joke. Basically, he uses operant conditioning and B.F. Skinner to train Penny to stop being a pain in the butt. But let's go forward. All right. Sometimes it isn't always cracked up to be. All right. Let's move forward. Expectancy theory. This one is heavily used as well when we're managers, and you're using it. It's used on you all the time, and you will in turn around using it on others. And so, if you understand its components, you're in better shape to make best use of it. So this I usually use as an example because, of course, I have in my class that learns this, usually sophomores and juniors. And it says, okay, let's talk about your study habits, right? Expectancy theory says this. It says, if I study hard, I will do well on a test. And so you have to believe that to be true. Otherwise, you're not going to study hard. If you don't have to study hard and do well on a test, then getting you to study hard is almost impossible, right? Maybe the class is so simple, you don't have to study hard. It's just easy. But we've been groomed from an early age that if you study hard, you'll do better on a test. Okay, that's the first step. That's expected. Sorry, let me go a little further. Right? Belief that effort or input will yield a certain result. Okay, it makes sense. Now, the second thing that people miss is incrementality. Okay, that if I get a high A, or if I do this a lot, I study hard, I get good grades, that these good grades are going to allow me to get a higher paying job than if I got all B's or all C's or all D's. Okay, so I have to believe this to be true. If now, if you think coming out of college it's simply a crapshoot, I roll the dice, I might get a job that pays me 70,000, or I might get a job that pays me 25,000. It doesn't matter what my grades are. Then you believe instrumentality is low, right? Now, most of us don't believe that. I have a daughter who believes it because she said, "Dad, quit yelping at me about getting high grades. C's get degrees. Just get off my back." And it's like, you're pissing me off. But okay, if that's the way you want to. I couldn't convince her that instrumentality was important. She understood expectancy. She understood that if she studied hard, she'd get better grades, but she didn't think getting better grades was important. Okay. And then finally, balance. What's the value of all this effort? Am I going to be happier with a higher paying job? How much happier? Is it worth all of the effort to do that? Okay. So these three things go hand in glove, and it's the same thing. If I work really hard at this internship, I think I will be recognized. If I'm recognized in this internship, that's going to help me get a great reference to get an even better job. And I value a better job in the long run. Does that sound familiar, Brad? You applied expectancy theory to yourself, essentially. Okay, that was your motivation to some extent. Now, by the way, there were other motivations going on at the same time, so it's never as clean as this one, but that's one of them, right? So here's the equation as you see it here, right? What's the effort? We want the effort. We have to see that the effort is recognized, and that this recognition then leads to something that the person values. That's the last part, the valence. So if each of these is high, if the person believes that studying does get higher grades, and that higher grades lead to a higher job, and a higher job means I'll be happier in the long run, all three of those are high, they will be highly motivated. If any of those are not in place, then you've got to throw away expectancy theory. It won't work. Okay. And sometimes we see this. I think the valence of a high-paying job is important. Somebody else says, "No, I'm making good money right now. I just want more vacation, and I like my time off. Thank you very much." Okay. trying to use expectancy theory to get them a promotion of a raise, probably not going to go very far with it, right? They'll give me some lip service saying they think they want to do it, but in fact, it won't be very motivating for them. So I better use some other theory. So this is expectancy theory. All right, let me go to the next one. Herzberg's. This one is still very, very popular, and a little more complicated to understand. Let me see if I can go through it. Those other things were fairly linear. A equal B equals C, therefore we got D. Herzberg says, it's not quite that clear. There's two camps. There's these things that motivate people, and there's these things he called hygiene. And hygiene aren't motivators. Sometimes they're called dissatisfiers. Okay? It doesn't matter how much responsibility you give me or how interesting my work. If it's dangerous where I'm working, I don't want to work there. But giving me a safe place to work isn't very motivating, right? Just because you've got COVID covered and because you've got everybody wearing masks and everything else doesn't make me want to come to work, not by itself. But if it's risky going to work, then you got a hygiene issue. You've got a dissatisfier going on there. Let me go a little further. In order to motivate people, we have to make sure that we give them some motivating factors, but we have to remove any hygiene problems or dissatisfiers. So I'm going to try a video again. I'm hoping the last one was because it was the video that was there. If this doesn't work, then we'll skip the videos from now on and we'll go on from there. So I've got the chat window up this time, so hopefully I'll respond more quickly. Thank you, Shimon, for telling me that it didn't work. Okay, so here we go.
Siobhan is working. Yes, she is, doing exactly as much as her job entails. No more, no less. Is she satisfied with the way things are at work? Not really. Is she dissatisfied? A bit. She's unhappy with the company's policy on overtime. We like our staff to be happy and motivated, of course, so let's change the policy. Now that we have removed the cause of Siobhan's dissatisfaction, she's sure to be a happy camper. But wait, while she's no longer dissatisfied, she's still not satisfied. What do we do wrong? That's where Herzberg's motivational theory comes in. Frederick Herzberg was a clinical psychologist who discovered that satisfaction and dissatisfaction almost always come about from different issues, not just opposite reactions to the same issue. He reckons that there are two factors that affect motivation. That's why this model is sometimes called Herzberg's two-factor theory, not to be confused with Sirota's three-factor motivation theory, which we also have an animation about. He calls the first lot of factors motivators: achievement, recognition, responsibility, and growth. These are the only ones that truly lead to satisfaction. The second lot he calls hygiene factors, which lead to dissatisfaction, like company policies, work conditions, pay, status, and job security. This is the interesting bit. Just getting rid of hygiene factors will not lead to satisfaction and motivation, just like with Siobhan. Nor will adding motivators to a situation where there are lots of hygiene factors lurking. So recognizing all of Siobhan's overtime without fixing the company policy on overtime pay won't do a thing to improve her motivation either. That's because factors that lead to satisfaction are separate and distinct from those that lead to job dissatisfaction. You might create peace by eliminating hygiene factors, but you won't be able to enhance somebody's performance without motivators. So if you want to motivate your team, it's two steps. 1. Eliminate the hygiene factors they're experiencing which lead to job dissatisfaction. 2. Create conditions for motivators to help them find job satisfaction. Poorly managed organizations still often fail to understand that people are not motivated by addressing hygiene needs. They are only truly motivated when you enable them to reach for and satisfy the factors that Hertzberg identified as real motivators, such as achievement and development, which represent a far deeper level of meaning and fulfillment. We've been approaching the subject of motivation in a very general way. In reality, different people will be motivated by different things. You want to know more? Of course, check out our animation, The 4 R's of Motivation. So what does that mean for our Siobhan? With all the paid overtime she puts in, she'll be recognised for the hard-working individual she is, and we can work together to move her towards becoming a team leader. Oh, yes, that's better.
I love the end. Oh, yes, that's better. Here's the thing that I want you to draw away from this. And it took me 15 years and thousands of dollars to figure this out. Uh-oh. I think that's you, Shimon. You might need to mute there, buddy. For some people, and I know this is hard for you because it may not be that way for you. First of all, what motivates you is not necessarily what motivates your staff. Let's start there, okay? You're different people. I am motivated by money. I am extrinsically motivated. A lot of people are, up to a point. And then maybe their desires change. You also have other people that you know that are not money motivated. Using money as a motivator, according to Hertzberg, is stupid. You're wasting your money because all it is a dissatisfier. What they're trying to say is, listen, I had consultants. There were some consultants, and they made good money. I remember I was paying about $95,000 a year, and this is 10 years ago. And I gave a guy an opportunity to get a $10,000 or $15,000 bonus. All he had to do was work harder, give me some overtime, put in some more billable time, blah, blah, blah. He told me he wanted the bonus. Who wouldn't want a $15,000 bonus, right? The problem was his behavior didn't follow his words. He didn't want to put in the extra time. He didn't want to put in the overtime. He didn't want to put in his other stuff. In theory, he was satisfied with the pay. It wasn't a motivator for him anymore to make any more money. He was already making his house payments. His kids went to parochial school. He was doing fine. Pay was not a motivator for him. And we got into a whole bunch of friction because I couldn't get the guy to get off the dime to go do what he had to do to earn the bonus. And at the end of the year, I couldn't give him the bonus because he didn't earn it. And we were both disappointed because I thought he wanted to get it and I wanted to pay it to him. Turns out that for him, pay was a hygiene issue. It took me a long time to figure that out because I couldn't understand because he didn't think like I thought. Somebody gives me a $15,000 bonus, I'm going to crawl over broken glass to get it, right? And Brad and Shimon, maybe you're at a point in your life where that's exactly what you'll do. And I'm going to guess for a second that Becky probably is a different position in her life. If she's a tax manager at PwC, I'm telling you, the visiting professors at Grand Valley don't make what a tax manager makes. Is that a fair statement, Becky?
That's a true statement.
Okay. So pay for her anymore. Now, there's a lot of variables going on here. Maybe she has a spouse that's working. Maybe she saved a lot of money. Maybe she thinks she's going to launch another career and make a killing, as the most highly paid, professor in Grand Valley history. I don't know. I don't think so. But anyway, but maybe, just maybe, pay isn't the motivator for her that it was when she was fresh coming out of school. And the key point here is, as a manager of other people, you need other theories to apply. And for her, maybe recognition or growth is the motivator right now, right? Maybe she's not getting enough growth in where she is, or achievement, or whatever, right? But there's 1,000 reasons. But I can tell you what, Brad and Shimon, I would bet, you're tired of eating ramen noodles, not the good kind from, Ginza. I'm talking about the cheap stuff from Meyer, right? And you're going, yeah, pay, motivator, absolutely. Well, right now it is, but it may not be. and recognize that as you shift, you may have people that come out of the gate not believing that either, right? And so, really important aspect. I wish I had learned this a lot earlier. It would have saved me a whole bunch of pain and, frankly, money, because it was my money I was throwing good after bad without many results. Anything I said there resonate with you, Brad? Are you a money motivated guy right now? Would pay be a motivator? I shouldn't use Herzberg's theory on you.
I mean, I don't know. It's a mix.
Okay.
It's like, obviously, it's always kind of an incentive, just being in college with debt. It's like, want to pay it off, but also want to progress professionally,
Yep.
and also want to feel good about the work I'm doing. So I would say it's kind of,
You may be closer to that point right now than you think, because usually people are coming out of their shoes going, oh no, I gotta retire this debt, then I gotta start building my nest egg because I want to retire by the time I'm 35. Becky, what did I say here that resonated with you?
Yeah, even though it was a big pay cut to come here, there was the job satisfaction of being able to work with college students. That something that I've wanted to do for so long, and the flexibility of having summers off, that was a plus.
Sure.
My kids getting half off tuition because I worked here, that was actually added to the pay.
Sure.
So that was, so lots of factors, but definitely a decrease to come, but way worth it for me at this point in my life.
Yeah, at this point in your life. Well, and here, all I'm, again, just trying to repeat is that I was too narrow-minded, thinking that people are going to be motivated just like I am, and they're not, right? People are motivated based on their own circumstances, their own initial value systems, how they were raised, where they are, their current life situations. We may share some same motivations, but we may not either. All right, I'm going to move ahead a little bit more quickly here because I tend to take too long anyway. Equity theory is an important one. Again, you use it. You don't call it equity theory very often. But I'm going to basically get to this. Why do you think bosses want your pay to remain confidential? Does anybody know why?
It's disappointing whether you're the higher paid one or the lower paid one. As soon as you find out what someone else makes, someone's unhappy.
Yeah. Somebody's going to be unhappy. Shimon, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to talk about, I guess this is the equity theory part of the presentation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Here's the story that I tell you. Okay. Equity theory. I've got somebody. Shimon's over there. He's a manager in the marketing department. Becky's over there in the accounting department, right? And Shimon's wondering, I wonder what she makes. I wonder if I make less than her, if I make equal to her, or if I make more than her. Okay, so Shimon's coming to me, and as Shimon's manager, which conversation do you think I'm going to have? Which one is he going to bring to me? Is he going to worry about making more than Becky, making the same as Becky, or making less than Becky? Shimon, which one are you going to talk to me about? You both work for the same company. You want to talk to me because you think why do you want to talk to me about your income vis-a-vis Becky? Which of these situations do you think exists in your mind? Whether it exists or not. Which one?
I'm making more than Becky, you said?
That's one option. You could come to me and say, I'm making more than Becky. I want to talk to you about that. I'm making the same as Becky. I'm making less than Becky. Which one do you talk to me about?
Oh, I'm making less than Becky is what I would want to talk to you about.
Yeah. In fact, in 35 years, I've never had anyone ever come to me and go, I'm worried, Paul. I'm making more than Becky. You're paying me too much. Never had that conversation. I would have loved to have the conversation because I could have said, you know what, Shimon, you make more than her because you're worth more to me. You do more, or you've got more tenure, or you're more valuable to me, right? This is the whole equity thing, right? But the conversation is, as Becky's already indicated, usually I have to explain to you now, Shimon, that you make less than her. Let me tell you why. She's got 20 years of tax experience in accounting. She's a CPA. She's got a lot of credentials that you don't have. Now, I can turn this into a conversation that can be positive and go, hey, if you want to switch roles and you want to go become an accounting manager and go back to school and get your CPA and then get 20 years, you'll make what she's making. But don't come to me and tell me that year. Now, normally it's not across departments like that. Usually, Shimon, you're talking to me because Brad's in the same department. And he's also a marketing manager, right? And so you've made this comparison. And so now you're starting to wonder, okay, well, why are you paying him more than me? And frankly, our imaginations run rampant. It's because he likes Brad more than me. It's because Paul's racist, and I'm a black man, and black men are known to make less than white men. Or, rarely would you go and say, do the research and go, hey, did you know Brad already has an MBA? That's not normally what you might say. And so it's going to be a difficult conversation. This is the reason why, as managers, we generally don't want to have these conversations. They don't normally turn out well, is what I'm getting around to. So equity theory is important. We do need to deal with the inequity. We do, as managers, we better be prepared to have that tough conversation, right? And if I'm paying Shimon less than Brad, I better have a pretty damn good reason, right? And it better not be because of skin color, right? It better be because Brad's got an MBA, he's got 5 years experience doing something other than what you did, right? That's what I should be saying, right? By the way, Shimon, if you don't like my answer, you're going to do some things to change it. Some of it you're going to do almost subconsciously. When the alarm goes off tomorrow morning and you're supposed to be in for that 7:30 meeting, you're going to go, I think I'm going to hit the snooze button. You're going to work less. I'm sucking motivation away from you because you're going to level that equity playing field. That equity theory says, you know what? In order to get more value, I need to work less. I'll get paid the same, but I work less. So, the equation works almost mathematically. I'll get some, right. That's not a good way of getting the equation to balance, by the way, because it causes other problems, but we do it subconsciously, right? What is a productive way is to go, hey, give me an understanding why this happens. Okay, give me some ways that I can change it. If things are equal as they are now, maybe I claim an MBA is important, but guess what? His MBA is really is in MIS, not in marketing. You know what? And you go, you're valuing an MBA in MIS more than my degree in marketing. I disagree with you. That's a decent argument. That's a good argument. And you can say, no, I deserve the raise. I am every bit and more the marketing person that Brad is. And by the way, if you can't get satisfaction in your heart, then you're going to have to vote with your feet. Shimon, how do you vote with your feet? You ever heard that phrase?
Just leave the organization.
You're have to leave. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. You're going to vote with your feet. Hopefully you don't have to. Hopefully you've got an understanding manager who's giving you a path to fix that problem. Okay. We all know Abraham Maslow. I'm not going to go real deep on him just because you've already gone there. I'm going to pass here. Try to scan, but I'm going to do this. Okay. I'm not going to talk about the restart, but this is a decent article. Be sure to scan it. I can tell you there's one question on the quiz about it. And as long as you've read the article, you'll be able to find the answer that you need. So don't sweat it, right? Don't try to commit it to memory. The better article, in my opinion, of the two that I had you select was this one. Has anybody had a chance to read it yet or not?
Yes.
I didn't read that one yet.
Oh my God. This overachiever here. Okay, here we go. All right. Okay. All right. We're going to talk about it anyway. Okay. Um, this, by the way, the New Yorker is not known for its business acumen. It's more of a social magazine. But my wife bought it for me recently, and I've really gotten to enjoy it, and I'm using it for a couple different things. This particular argument. Let me go back. Well, it really is in alignment with what this class is all about, right? What is it that remote work does, and why is it hard, and how could we fix it? And as managers, part of our job is to figure out how to do that. So let's start a little bit. Becky, you weren't born in the 60s. I was born in the late 50s, but you might remember growing up. We've all heard the word telecommuting, but do you remember why? What's the original intent behind telecommuting?
It's kind of interesting in that article. He laid out different things that happened, like gas prices going up, and then all of a sudden, if gas prices went down, then everyone was very congested because they had moved outside the city and going to the city. So I hadn't realized that this telecommuting thing was a term coined before. I thought it was coined in the 90s when I started telecommuting.
Yeah.
But one idea they had was before they had the technology of the computers, is that they've said, why don't we create these little pods outside the city so that people don't have to travel so far? And so there was a lot of interesting stuff in that article for me.
I thought so too. Yeah, that maybe rather than does anybody know where Quicken Loans is? Downtown Detroit. It's right on Campus Marshall.
Yeah.
Hundreds, thousands and thousands of people pour into that building every day, right? And yet most of them don't interact with each other. They just sit there, right? My daughter's boyfriend works for Rocket Mortgage or Rocket Loans or one of them, and he's got to commute all the way in from, I don't know, Shelby Township or something, all the way downtown, right?
Yeah, my friend works there too, actually.
Yeah. Okay. So similar idea, right? And so it's like, well, why don't they just take Rocket Mortgage or whatever he works for and put a little satellite out in Shelby Township, right? Well, that's what the original idea behind telecommuting was. Like, let's just do that, and then we'll link these little offices together. This is before the internet, right? But yeah, the idea was mostly, and it's mostly been bannered about over the last 20 or 30 years, as a way to save gas, congestion. Let's stay off I-75. Let's stop burning up fossil fuels. Let's quit wasting all this time in commuting. And while that is partially true, that is not the main reason we have telecommuting anymore. It's not that. Certainly in COVID, it wasn't the case, right? So anyway, so we go on for a while here. The 70s, we get the oil crisis. The 80s, the 90s, as Becky's indicated. We're cruising along, right? We got this telecommuting thing going pretty well. And suddenly, 2013, somebody sort of rocks the boat heavily. Everybody knows who Yahoo is, right? But most of you don't know who Marissa Mayer is. Bradley's what's that, Shimon?
Yeah, I do. I had a class where I actually had to read articles about CEOs and whatnot. I've heard of it.
Cool. Well, what did she do in 2013? Do you know what happened when she took over Yahoo?
I know she changed a lot of things. I guess. From what I can see here, the work from home thing.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I'll give you a hint there, but no, you're right. Yeah. Culturally, she changed a lot of things, and one of the things, she did it more for a cultural issue than anything else.
Yeah.
But she said, you know what? We're not as creative as we used to be, working in our basements. We're not as collaborative as we used to be, and creativity and innovation is what's going to save this company. And so, I'm sorry, Brad. I know you like working in your dungarees, but you're going to have to come to the office. And she backed it up by a number of studies that said Brad isn't quite as productive as he thinks he is when he's sitting in his basement, right? And so for the last, 5 to 10 years, there's been a big movement back to saying, no, we need to get back in. Now, maybe we need different, maybe our offices need to look more like coffee shops and less like cube cities. But we need to get together to collaborate with each other. And so that was a big change here, and the article points that out, which is a good thing. Okay, if you read the article though, it talks about, okay, there are reasons in certain industries, certain knowledge workers have done very, very well in implementing remote work options. Anybody want to take a guess at which it is? The article mentions it, but you can probably maybe think it through. I'll give you a hint, Brad. You're studying in that area.
Information technology.
Yeah, and get more specific. Which area of IS?
ERP.
Okay, well, that's pretty specific. Okay.
Man,
What's that, Siobhan?
Specific.
nothing. Pretty much the same thing. You say this is the MIS.
The intranet.
Mostly programming, right? Where I can work in sort of an isolated area. I can work maybe as a silo, but not entirely, but at least portions of my day are siloed, and I need quiet in order to be productive. So software development has done pretty well, but a lot of the other areas have not done as well in telecommuting and remote work. And so I find it interesting. The article spends a long time talking about some historical notions, and I love it when we get some metaphors. Have any of you toured some of the really old factories, or maybe you've gone to the Greenfield Village? Have you ever been down to Greenfield Village? No? Okay. If you've ever toured an old museum, or Greenfield Village is a great example, you will see an old factory, pre-Thomas Edison, okay? And in these old factories, they're obviously made of brick. More often than not, they're long, not very high, maybe 2 stories. But up in the ceilings of these things are these massive gears and axles and belts are running all of the various machines. And so all of those, it's a very, very mechanical kind of factory where all of the power is generated above the workers' heads, and the power comes from a central engine, a steam engine outside of the factory. And it's chunking away, and it's spinning all of these axles up in the air. And so if you need to cut something, your saw is connected to this axle that's spinning above your head, and you connect it with a belt, and now your saw is spinning. Or if you need to sew something, you change the gear ratios, and you somehow have a belt connected to a smaller belt or something. I don't know how that all works, but it's really sort of amazing the ingenuity that these people did before the electric motor. So they centralized all of the energy, all of the work in the steam engine, and then somewhere after Thomas Edison, invented electricity and light bulbs and all the other shit, they go, hey, it makes a lot more sense to have individual motors and stuff. But factory owners didn't immediately go there because it wasn't proven. It took many decades to get there. And the article goes through and tries to compare that to this idea of, should all our workers be in the same building, or can we re-engineer the way we work, and can we be remote and be as or even more productive? And why is it taking business so long to get there? So anyway, it's an interesting little spin on it. I liked it. Maybe you will too. We'll see. All right. So when we work remotely, what are some problems that you often have? Anybody worked remotely enough to know what that is? Becky's worked remotely for 20 years, so she knows. So I'll let her start. What's one of them, Becky?
I found that my business time bled into my personal time. So it's in the evenings, even though I didn't need to be working, I usually would just go back to the office and clean up a few things, and I would think, oh, I'll just take care of a couple of emails, and then 2 hours later,
Right.
and I didn't get paid overtime. So it was just it was hard to separate your personal life and your business life.
Yep. One of the big complaints. Shimon, were you going to add something there? What have you learned in working remotely, if anything?
Definitely more of a lack of motivation in
Okay.
the class for sure.
Yeah, I can see that with some of the studying that I've had. Benjamin Franklin said, you know what? If I sort of cordon off my day, I'll be more productive. And so we've seen this in people who work remotely. They're going to go, you know what? And you could do this in the office as well, but it's easier remotely. I'm not going to answer emails between my most productive time, which is 8 a.m. and 10:30. Right? I am heads down. Those are when I really get my best thinking done. I'm going to do all my analytical or high level thinking, critical thinking, my writing, all the stuff that needs to be done well. And I don't even accept meetings, between 8 and 11, right? And 11 is the first time. This is something called time block. And it's one of the things as a manager, you may find that you need to do with your staff. You may need to do it yourself, and you may need to allow your staff to do it. Anyway, the article talks a little bit about that. I think you'll find some value in that. The other thing as a manager, it says if we're going to manage a remote workforce, we can't manage them like we did in the office, right? We're not going to be, we're not going to all have our webcams up all the time, and I'm not going to check to see that Brad is, drinking a beer and going to the bathroom all the time. That's not very productive, right? Even though in the office, I'm not going to, he's not going to bring a beer in the office, and I'm not going to watch him, drinking from the desk. But the truth of the matter is, I really need to reassess the way I know Brad is working. Oh, I got out of my way here. I'm sorry. Let me get here. I need to go. I'm going to come back to that in just a minute. I'm sorry, but I'm going to finish this thought. I need to shift to a deliverables mindset. I need to go, Brad, this is what I need you to accomplish this week. I need you to come and give me an update a couple times over the course of the week. And then I'm going to assess whether you got it done by Friday at 3 when I really need it. Okay. I'm not going to monitor you throughout the course of the day. I'm not going to check to see how many emails you sent or how many phone calls you took or how many keys you stroked, right? I want to know these things. So as a manager, sometimes we have to change the way in which we assess our staff. I'm not going to measure your productivity by how many meetings you attended this week. It doesn't matter to me. Okay, let me go back. Some other things the article suggests. I'm curious, Becky, because you've had to do this. When you walk from one part of your house to your office, is it just fluid? You just go in and you can be in one or the other? Or some people say, no, I march downstairs, I change modes, and now, I put on a suit coat and I walk into I open the door and I'm in the office. This is downstairs. I have no windows. This is it. Others are it's far more fluid, and I might work on the porch today, I might work in the kitchen, or I might work in there. What happened to you?
Sorry, there was noise outside, so I kept muting myself.
That's fine.
I think I would have been more successful if I had created routine. But during those 20 years, my children were growing up. Right. And so it wasn't uncommon that they would be knocking, and the only thing they knew is if that door was locked, that meant I was on a call and there no coming in. But otherwise, there would be so many interruptions during the day, which I think that's why I felt compelled to always go back to the office in the evening. But it also meant that I would quick run through a load of laundry and then come back to the desk. Right. So the only routine I had was to make sure that I woke up and took a shower, put clean clothes on, and that was something that had to be done before I would get to the office.
Good point. Yeah, I'm having some trouble here setting up a routine working here. I mean, luckily it's only the summer. I'm looking forward to getting back into, I like going into my office. I like unlocking the door. I like getting my cup of coffee. I like, answering my email at the office. I could answer it here just as easily. But when I'm answering it there, I'm now in work mode, right? And as opposed to here where I could easily be distracted, and next thing I know, I'm watching a YouTube video and I'm lost in the hole of the internet. I thought this was an interesting point. When you do a high level of meetings, Zoom meetings, there's a concept called, what did the article call it? Clocking or something? And so let's pretend that four of us work collaboratively together on a project, and we're a department of 6, and I'm the boss for the department. Rather than having a meeting at 9, where the four of us are going to Zoom together, and then I have another meeting at 10, and Becky's part of that. So is Shimon, sorry, but somebody else is, but Brad isn't. And then 11, we have a different meeting. That time it's Brad and me and somebody else. Rather than having these finite chops, we go, you know what? This first meeting starts at 9. We're done at 9:43. And Brad, you're not in the next meeting. You just disappear. We ping. We either text or reach out via chat and go, hey, Jimmy, come on into the meeting. We're ready for you. And we go. Our meeting runs from 9:45 to 10:20, and we're done. And Becky's done, and the next meeting starts at 10:22, because if you do a lot of remote meetings like we're talking about, there's this setup and tear down every time we do it, and we lose productivity. And sometimes we go, oh well, we can talk until 10 o'clock anyway because the next meeting doesn't go, so we'll just waste the last 10 minutes and chat with each other about how life goes. Now, I'm not suggesting that isn't good in and of itself, but if we're doing it for productivity purposes alone, that probably isn't the most productive time of our workday. Anyway, that's what this article is talking about there. And then finally, a couple things I think you should be aware of. This is the going forward stuff. Gartner, who's familiar with Gartner? Brad, I gotta believe you're familiar with Gartner Group, right?
Yeah.
Okay. They are started off as mostly an IT think tank. Now they're just a big marketing IT group research. I'm proud to say that my niece is actually a Gartner analyst, has been there for 10 years. And I think their starting billing rate is 450 or 500 and goes up from there. These are smart people. Anyway, they do a lot of research for high-end people, and they've said, you know what? CFOs are going, we sort of like this remote work thing that COVID forced us into. It really worked pretty well. And at least in the short term, 60% of the employees said, yeah, we like it too. So this idea that we're all going to, that somehow we're all going to get a vaccine and tomorrow we're all going to commute back into our offices and go out to lunch together like we used to, may not happen. So this was a little Becky, I don't know if you picked up on this statistic or not. I thought it was interesting. Only 3% of the workforce was considered remote. I thought it was far more than that.
Yeah, I thought so too.
But when COVID and the shutdown happened, this is mostly March, April, May timeframe. Of course, it went 95%, and it's now falling back, but it's not going to go back to 3. According to Gartner, it's going to fall back to the 20 to 30% range. Okay, thank you, people. This is what I want to cover tonight. I will post this slide deck along with this if you need to review it all. And we don't meet again in person, if you call this in person, until next Wednesday, right, at 7. So between then, you've got a number of things. You're going to have the quiz on Sunday night. You can take it anytime. It's 6 questions. You should do very well, I hope. Read the articles and do the other stuff. You'll do fine. I will give you some information about the final assignment. Make sure that you understand what that is. And then you've still got things due on Monday. Actually, you've got 2 quizzes due because you'll have a quiz due on Tuesday night, or Monday and Tuesday work, because I didn't know when we were going to meet. So our next meeting is Wednesday, and then our last meeting is Thursday. Okay, I'm going to wrap up here. Is there anything else people need to see, hear, taste, or feel before we end for the night?
Our meeting next week on Thursday, will that be primarily for presentations?
Yeah, that's what it's mostly for. Are we good?
Yeah.
All right, people. Have a good evening. We will talk to you next week. Bye now.
Thanks, Professor Hillman.
You betcha.